Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Erie Together's Business, Finance, and Information Technology Career Pathways Information Session. My name is Mary Beulah, and I'm the director of Erie Together, which is a countywide movement heavily focused on helping more students become successful adults. Through my role, I also facilitate the Erie County Career Pathways Alliance, which is a group of educators, workforce developers, universities, and school districts working together very differently to help prepare students for future careers. Tonight is our third information session, each focusing on a different career pathway. For those who have joined us, we're happy to have you here. For those students who couldn't make it this evening, we're recording this session to make it available after tonight's event. So our goal tonight is to help you understand opportunities in the business, finance, and information technology career pathway. That includes business and administration, finance and insurance, information technology, and marketing, sales, and service. We want to touch on things students can do to help prepare for careers in that pathway, highlight some relevant jobs, and give you the opportunity to learn from our panelists' experience. So we've assembled a really great panel of speakers this evening, and we want you to ask any questions that you have while we have them all together. And we've structured tonight's session pretty tightly. We're going to start with introductions, and then we'll have a presentation on industry insights from Janet Anderson of Northwest PA Job Connect, which is our public workforce system. We will then turn to the panelists with our questions and others that you submit. If you have any questions you'd like to pose to our panelists, please type them in the chat and we will raise them for you. Now, please understand that if you're here and you can hear us, your technology is working. Here are some additional things we want you to know and consider so we make sure tonight's session goes well. First of all, panelists, please make sure your camera is on and your microphone is muted, and remember to unmute yourself when you're speaking. Students and families, your cameras and microphones have been disabled. So when you want to ask a question, you'll be using the chat function to do that. Finally, as I mentioned earlier, we're recording this session so we can make it available to students and schools after the event. So now, just to make sure everyone understands how the chat works. The chat feature is located in the main bar at the bottom of your screen and is labeled chat. When you have a question, please click on the chat button and type it in. If you want to direct your question to a certain panelist, please use their name whenever you submit the question, but if it can go to anyone, just type the question in and we'll take it from there. We've got an hour set aside for tonight's session, but if we run out of questions before then, we'll wrap up early. If we don't get to all the questions before the session's over, we'll send them to the panelists after the event and get their answers for you. So before we start, let's have everyone try out their chat. Please, to do that, please hit chat and type in how many parents are with you for tonight's session, anywhere from 0 on up. Okay, great, thank you. Finally, before we get started, I'd like to thank Jennifer Ponzer, Erie Together's Career Street Program Director, who's monitoring the chat for us tonight. I'd also like to thank Erie Insurance and Northwest PA Job Connect, whose support helped make this event possible. Okay, so it's time to get started. Speakers, please tell us your name and position and a little bit about your background. To make this go well, I'm going to call on each one of you individually, and I'm going to start with Beth Burnside. Beth?
Hi, my name's Beth Burnside. I own a company named CMIT Solutions of Erie, and we provide computer support and all kinds of information technology related consulting and services to businesses in the region and across the country.
Thanks, Beth. Jenny?
Hi, I'm Jenny Poff, and I'm a marketing and brand strategist based out of Erie, PA. And I help global companies, national companies, and local companies figure out the best marketing tactics to help their business grow.
Thanks, Jenny. Jeff? You're muted, Jeff.
My name is Jeffrey Smith. I've been in the tech for about 20 years. I own my own consulting company as well, named French Creek Technology. And I pretty much specialize in the engineering side of the technology industry, and I've enjoyed that. And I'm looking forward to sharing that with others.
Thanks, Jeff. April?
Hello, everyone. My name is April Morrison. I was born and raised in Erie. I attended public school, so I graduated from Central High, which is now Erie High School, class of '96 for those of you out there. I am a Penn State grad. My first degree is in MIS. My second degree is in business management. I've been with Erie Insurance for about 18 years, and I'm currently serving as a continuous improvement manager.
Thanks, April. And Janet?
Good evening. My name is Janet Anderson. I am the Executive Director of NWPA Job Connect, the local workforce development board, covering the 6 counties of Northwest Pennsylvania, including Erie County. I have a degree in accounting from Penn State University, and I've spent my 36 years in my career in not in accounting, but rather in government, economic development, and workforce development.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to start with you, Janet. And based on local data and your experience, could you please share your insights on local employment opportunities, employer needs, and skills that employers are really interested in?
Sure, I would love to do that. We are most often known by the public as the Pennsylvania Career Link. Our role is to help people find employment and provide a living wage that provides a living wage and room to grow within their career pathway, and help the local employers find a skilled workforce. We work with adults, dislocated workers, out-of-school youth, in-school youth, and employers. One of the most important tools that we provide to all of those individuals is the labor market information. Labor market information is data that shows the number of open positions in an area, the entry level wage or salary in that area, as well as the experience level wage or salary. It also shows the training that's required to get into specific occupations. The information also helps employers see what others are paying for similar positions so that they remain competitive. We have careers here locally in business, finance, information technology, that are available right here, requiring training anywhere from work experience or on-the-job training to the PhD level and everything in between. Wages and salaries in this industry range from $30,000 to well over $100,000. We have a list developed by the state called the In-Demand Occupation List. We lovingly call it IDLE. And with that data, that data is collected and provided by employers twice a year. A few of the occupations that are available in this career pathway right here in Northwest Pennsylvania and Erie include managers, human resource specialists, accountants, auditors, bookkeepers, customer service representatives, sales representatives, administrative assistants, market research specialists, financial analysts, lawyers, paralegals, loan officers, technical writers, statistical analysts, computer network support, software developers, computer hardware analysts, just to name a few. So I think that if you're interested in this area, I think you can find something that will fit your interest. The nice thing about this career pathway is that you may have the opportunity to work in these occupations in many different settings or industries. For example, the healthcare industry might be a possibility, or in a manufacturing setting. Or you could consider becoming an entrepreneur, and we've got a couple of those with us this evening, and start your own business. This was the pathway that I chose when I was your age and went off to college. And you heard me say that while I have a degree in accounting, I didn't stay in accounting. I ventured off of that path a little bit to find something else that better fit my interest. You'll hear more about many of these occupations in just a few minutes from our expert panelists. So what are some of the insights and employer needs? Well, I think it's important to understand that 25% of your life as an adult will be spent at work. So I'm going to say to you, it's important to choose something that you like, know what you like, and know what you like to do. Having money will make you happy for a short time, but then the realization that you're going to be doing this like I have been for over 30 years will set in. And it's important to really understand your interests. Financial literacy is really important when you have a job. Your employer expects you to show up every day and be engaged in what you're doing. So make sure that you understand how you're spending your money so that you can maintain a happy lifestyle. Take the time to know who you are and what you enjoy. It is costly for employers to hire people, train them, and have them leave. Explore. It's really important, especially at this stage of your life, to try things that help you decide what you do like. Participate in internships, co-ops, get out there and work if you like. Participate in teams, clubs, or you can volunteer. These are great ways to learn leadership skills, responsibility, and teamwork, all qualities that employers are looking for. Get out of your comfort zone. You will learn things about yourself that you don't know right now about you. Career Street is a great resource that you have access to at this time. Take advantage of that. Take advantage of the opportunity while in school to explore ideas and thoughts and learn as much as you can. It's important to learn to listen. Listen to your mentors, your teachers, your friends' parents, a boss if you happen to take a job or volunteer, your grandparents, parents, neighbors, or your pastor. If it weren't for my mentors, I would not be doing what I am today. Parents are great and they always have your best interest in mind, but they may not understand your interests as well as others outside your family. So make sure you listen to those not only around you every day, but those outside the family as well. Employees that move up in an organization are often those individuals that are willing to continue to learn and try new things. Initiative and drive will separate you from others. Very important to take on responsibilities, volunteer while you're at work to do things that others maybe won't do. It will make a difference in your upward growth. Don't be afraid to fail. But when you fail, reflect and learn from your mistakes and make a plan to not let those things happen again. It's important if you're going to try things to understand that you may fail in your quest. So it's also important to learn from that and make a plan. Family balance is important. I mentioned that employers want a happy worker when we talked about financial literacy. Your family balance is also important to make sure that you're a happy worker. So keep that in check. Honesty and integrity are key to your upward growth and mobility in a company. Be on time every day, come to work ready and able to work, be engaged and do your best. Every position is important in the company. Do that now while you're in school. It's important to learn those habits while you're young and take them into your adult life. So what are some of the skills and qualities that employers are looking for or interested in? And you're going to hear this again tonight, but from the others, but basic skills like math, verbal and other communication skills, reading and writing, Take advantage of the schooling that's right in front of you and the opportunities that are presented to you there. I'm going to mention Career Street one more time, as one of the, at least one more time, as one of the most important things that you can do to learn more about careers that exist. Virtually and in person, you'll be able to meet people in the field of interest right here and now before you've actually taken steps to engage in a career path of the next 30 plus years. Digital literacy. This year has really shown all of us the importance of being able to use your computer, Zoom, like we're using this evening for this meeting, and many other pieces of technology. And we have technology experts that I'm sure are going to talk about that tonight. Discipline. We've also learned this year the importance of discipline. Employees that had to work from home had to learn discipline and show discipline in order to do quality work. Employers will say that they can train most of the technical skills or are willing to help pay for that training of technical skills. But it's that person that comes to work, ready to work every day, that's hard to find. So use this opportunity to learn those skills so you are separated from the others. The employers look for leaders, creative thinkers, people with initiative and a strong work ethic. If you like what you do, it's a lot easier to have all of those qualities. Don't forget to invest in you. Education is really critically important. You don't have to have it all when you step out of high school and step right into education. You can learn while you earn, and a lot of employers are looking at those opportunities as we speak. Always do your best, own your work, and you'll go far in whatever you decide to do. Thank you, Mary, for the opportunity to be here and share this evening.
Wow, Janet, thank you. That was really great perspective. I enjoyed hearing it, and I think that our students really can take a lot away from that. So thank you. Jen, do we have any questions from the participants?
Nothing in the chat right now, Mary.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jen. All right, thanks, Janet. Now I'm going to turn to the panelists with some questions. And Beth, we're going to start with you. So, Beth, you are the owner of an information technology or IT services company. What does an IT services company do, and what kinds of jobs exist within a company like yours?
So I think, to make it simple in a nutshell, we take care of almost anything that plugs in or beeps or blinks in an office right now, or a manufacturing firm. We have customers of all different types, and it's really evolved over the years that we take care of almost everything that plugs in or is wireless. So computers, servers, phones, copiers, printers. I mean, think of all the things, the devices that people use. So we help people at companies when they have problems or questions, how do I do this, or this isn't working. So of course, because of that, most of our jobs are IT related, where someone has some technical skill, generally a 2-year degree in a networking related field, or enough practical experience, on-the-job experience to compensate for that. Because we're a small company, I do a lot of the other work myself, but just because we're an IT services company, if we were a bigger company, there would be other jobs like accounting, finance, human resources. So, I don't want the students to get caught up in almost every company that there is has all of these other fields. So you might have a field, but not know what company you want to work for. So I just want the students to keep that in mind, that even an IT firm would have a place for someone who has a different set of skills.
Well, that's great perspective, Beth. So let's talk about your company and what you believe are the most important keys to your company's success in securing, serving, and retaining your clients, and what kind of skills or characteristics you look for in your employees to help ensure that success.
I think that's a great point, because I tell people that I speak with, or if I'm interviewing candidates, that I view what we do really as customer service. My people provide very high quality, reliable customer service to all of our clients, our hundreds of computer users and businesses that we have. It just happens to be that the service is in the IT field, and we're servicing and helping with computing devices. So it really could be almost anything, because customer service is primary. And, the good news is that's the basic, basic skills that anybody could have. And when I say customer service, I think it's not as much about the technology, it's how people feel when they're talking to the people that work for me, when they're how do they feel? Do they make them feel, stupid? Are they irritated? Well, no, they're in customer service. We're there to take their questions. So we know that our clients value friendliness, people that, don't make them feel that their questions are stupid, that are very helpful and knowledgeable and professional. They never say, oh, I love their IT skills. I mean, they might say knowledgeable, but they don't know knowledgeable in exactly what. They just know they mean more knowledgeable than them. So it's really about the service. So I look for the people that have that, basic training or experience in the field from a technical standpoint, but on top of that, someone who sets themselves aside is going to be, honest, have really, high integrity, be hardworking, and you have to be willing to learn. I mean, in our field, it doesn't stay static. Almost no field does now. So I think the hardest thing for students is, you're starting to think about jobs, but the real jobs out there, especially in our field, we don't even know what they're called yet. Think of all the things people do now with web design and apps, and that didn't even exist 10 or 15 years ago. So I never want students to lose focus of their basic education and their basic skills, because they could be preparing now for jobs that we don't even know exist.
Mm-hmm. That's really great insight. Let me flip it a little bit. So before you became a business owner, you worked within various companies as an employee. And so from your perspective, how does being an owner differ from being an employee, and what prompted you to make that leap?
So I guess I would say I started my own business after several iterations. And yes, I have an IT services firm, but my background is in marketing. So I have a marketing degree, I have a master's degree in business, and I worked in food and manufacturing and distribution before I got here. So it kind of goes along with what Janet was saying, is you don't necessarily pigeonhole yourself into one thing, be flexible and find out what you really like. And I think every job I had was from bigger to smaller to smaller to smaller companies, because I really wanted to be more in control of my own destiny. And I didn't want to do just one job. When I worked for a big firm, I was just in marketing, but I had such a broader interest. I wanted to learn. So each successive job I had, I learned a different area. So then when I wanted to start my own business, I felt a little more confident in my ability, because I had experience in all those other areas. So I think any work experience is good work experience. I think being an owner can be looked at as really different than being an employee, because as the owner, you bear all of the risk, which can be financial risk, the risk of the company's performance, and you have ultimate responsibility for everything that happens. The buck stops with you. So that part of it is really different, but there's more similarities, I think, than differences. It's about your personal characteristics, that if you can take that with you to every job, you're going to be successful. And one of the things I really was thinking about, I've talked to some high school students before about entrepreneurial leadership. And it doesn't mean owning a business in the sense of entrepreneur. It's how are you as a leader? Are you starting to develop your leadership skills And I really like this book that I recommend called Who Owns the Ice House by Clifton Talbert. I don't know if anyone's heard of that, but I'm just going to do a screen share and tell you about the things you can do now that kind of totally aligns with what Janet was saying about your personal characteristics. And this book called Who Owns the Ice House is really great. It's 8 characteristics about entrepreneurial leadership. So I just wanted to share that if you guys can see how really simple these characters are. It's about who you are as a person, making good choices now, looking at everything as an opportunity, taking the right actions, gaining your knowledge, understanding what wealth is, creating a personal brand, getting involved in your community, and being persistent. I think those really kind of align with what Janet was saying. And I truly believe that as a business owner, and I would look to hire people that have exhibited those things in their life.
Thanks, Beth. And I'm going to throw one additional one at you that I did not provide to you prior to this. But, you know, Janet talked about this, you talked about this, about continual learning and continual growth. And you as a business owner went on and earned your PhD, which is super impressive from my perspective. What made you decide to do that? And you know, at this stage of your career, and you're a business owner now, how has that changed the way you sort of look at things and the way you lead?
Well, I would say, you know, getting a PhD at age 50 is not something that people usually do, but if you're a lifelong learner, where does it end? You know, I feel like I just always need the next iteration of learning. And for me, it was in a field that could supplement what we do in IT. And it's more about organization culture, leadership, organizational change, which is really important. So in my company, we can help people institute that change and institute those, you know, larger scale things that are about the people part of it. So I'm a believer in continuous learning. And I guess the proof in that is that it never stops. So maybe next year I'll go to law school because I want to learn business law. But I encourage everyone to follow their passion in that respect, because if you're passionate about it, you can always tie it into what you're doing. To me, any type of education is never a waste.
Great, thank you. Jen, do we have any questions in the chat?
No questions in the chat right now, Mary.
Okay, thanks. Beth, thank you. Jenny, I'm going to move on to you now. Okay,
Mary.
so yeah, hi. So first question for you. You are a marketing and brand strategist, and what exactly does that mean?
So similar to an ad agency, I specialize with helping businesses figure out the best way to do marketing. So often my clients struggle with, well, maybe I should do this print ad, maybe I should spend this TV commercial, and then they don't get the results that they thought they would get. So I help be the liaison between owner and the media vendors to make sure we build the right multi-channel marketing campaign to get the owner the best results. So I touch a lot of different pieces. And so thinking about how do I explain that to prospective students who are considering a marketing degree or a pursuit of marketing career, there's so many different channels that can spiral off into that, from the data source side of things and doing market research and sales growth projections. That's all, you know, the nitty gritty of marketing. But then there's the other side of advertising that's creative and production and more fluid and energetic. So it can go really deep.
So you just said it, marketing's a huge field. How can students better understand the kinds of careers that exist within the marketing field?
I think the first step, if you're thinking about marketing career, is to decide whether you like the data and logistics and writing and the language and almost like the left brain, right brain aspects of things, very strategic in data, or you're very creative. For me, myself, I went to art school. I went to a high university. I have a BFA in graphic design because I love all the creative, bringing the ideas to life. But over the course of owning my agency, I've realized that I love the data side too, that fuels the creative side. I need to understand who we're talking to, why we're talking to them, what do we want them to do, how are we going to get them in, that customer experience, so that, hey, photographer, we need you to do this thing, or hey, web guy, we need you to do this thing. It just fuels, it gives us data evidence, evidence-based design thinking to execute.
Okay, so with so many different kinds of opportunities available in the marketing field, how would you advise students to narrow down their interest? What can they do in high school or after high school to figure out what they might want to do in the marketing arena?
I think the best thing is, no matter what kind of opportunity comes your way, or if you're looking for opportunities, to try it. I remember when I was getting ready to leave college and I had an internship with a global healthcare company, and it was scary, but I went in anyway, and I was able to come out saying, I really like this thing and I don't really like this thing. And so no matter what kind of experience, grab it. I remember my mom saying to me when I was graduating, I'm like, Mom, I don't think I can find a job. Like, either I work at JCPenney's or I work in this print shop. And her advice to me was, you might not like the print shop. You might not like, it might not be the dream job of what you've worked so hard to do, but that's going to be the better resume element on your list than the retail job, if I want that marketing career. So I made a little marketing machine, if I have an extra second to show, because
Sure.
One of the other parts in marketing, no matter if you're in the right brain or left brain, the logistics or the creative, unlike other departments in corporate structures, we touch every single department, from sales to accounting to HR to operations to IT. We're poking in at everybody because we need to make sure that every touch point, every way a business touches a customer, has to be on point. So I did this little thing. I'm going to try to share it with you that I think shows the vastness of marketing. So let's see, I'm going to screen share first. And let's see if I can, did that work? As you see the full screen?
We do.
Okay, so one of my favorite things when I'm working for a company is the owner comes in and says, I got an idea. And the leadership team's there and we're like bracing ourselves, but we hear it. And the minute that idea hits the table, here's what happens. The strategy team comes in and starts talking about who we need to talk to, who are the customers, what do we want them to do, what are our sales goals. Pretty soon marketing comes in and says, we can do this social media campaign, we can do this digital thing, and branding comes in, make sure it's consistent. And all of these things touch together. And then we call the photographer, the videographer, the web guy, the thing, and everything flows together to deliver that widget to the customer or to deliver that experience. And you can see all through it, we're going to hit one of those other departments somewhere along that path. So it's a big machine. So when students come to me and say, hey, I want to get into marketing, I say, well, what do you like about it? What are you thinking about doing? And there is a void question. And that's why I say, try a little bit of everything to figure out where you like to niche and what you like and what you don't like.
Thanks, Jenny. That's really great advice. Jen, do we have any questions from the chat?
No questions right now, Mary.
Okay, thank you. Jeff, you're up. Okay, so my first question for you. You're an IT professional who owns your own consulting firm too. You've also been the IT director at Erie County Technical School for the last 15 years, and you'll soon be transitioning to a new position within a major Erie County corporation. What types of education, training, or extracurricular activities did you pursue to prepare for these opportunities?
So, it's interesting. I didn't start in IT. I started out in electronics as a Navy sailor, and it quickly transitioned into IT because it was back when IT wasn't a thing yet. So Beth and Jenny kind of both touched on things. Everything is constantly changing. So as IT was kind of being born into this thing that was more than just part of the finance department back in the day, we all had to learn it at the same time, and there really wasn't predefined education necessarily for it. There was the traditional stuff, but this PC world was still in its infancy and growing. So I got some certifications back in that day that were based on, the beginnings of IT. There was an A+ certification at that time. There was a Network Plus certification at that time, but it was protocols that we don't even use today, under a platform that was referred to back then as Novell. So for me, it's been just a constant move of finding that idea, as Jenny mentioned, and being excited about that idea and wanting to get involved in how to make that idea come to fruition and figuring out how to participate the best I possibly can into bringing that idea. And that's meant learning something every step of the way for 25 years now.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay, so from where you sit as a veteran IT expert and leader, how important are industry certifications and credentials to an IT professional's success? And what certifications or skills do you believe are most in demand today? And then just a follow-up to that, how does securing industry credentials or certifications impact a person's earning potential?
Yeah, so I think that just like college, getting an industry credential kind of sets the baseline for your aptitude when we really don't know who you are. And so that eases the conversation when you're looking for a job to determine whether or not we can validate whether or not you can do what you say you can do. Early on, it's more important. As you sort of progress, sometimes the conversations get a little bit deeper, but if you can continue to be certified in the things that you've acquired along the way, it again continues to validate that in business conversations. So even if you stay with a company for say 15 years, like I recently have, along the way, other people within the organization will ebb and flow, move into different positions, come and go. And having some of those credentials to kind of break the ice with conversations that they can trust you and believe that, if you say that you're going to help them bring that idea to fruition, that you've got some background to be able to do that. But with a lot of things, as Beth mentioned, it's moving too fast. Education, which is, the industry that I was in, is moving fast by itself, and their embrace of technology seems to sort of follow that consumerization, as we call it, of IT, where, hey, there's an iPad, what can we do with that? How can we make it work? And there is no certification for how do you make an iPad work in education in 2007. You just have to figure it out, and you might circle back later and say, well, this is what we did and these were the best practices. So then you go back to Apple or Google and get certification, and once they've sort of developed that that educational instrument. But honestly, where I have been, it moves faster than education can keep up.
Okay. Do any of the rest of you, I see a lot of heads nodding. Do any of the rest of you want to add to that, what Jeff just said?
I think it just goes along with constantly learning and being able and willing to learn new things. If you are too set in your ways and only want to do one thing, there probably isn't any field around that is that way anymore. And you need to start trying different things now and demonstrate that you can change. A lot of our interview questions are about change. How have you adapted to quick change? Tell me something new that you learned. So I think that I would imagine everyone, probably agrees.
Yeah, thanks. Jenny?
I was going to echo that, because in the digital ad space and in social media, if Facebook changes its algorithm or its ad policy or whatever it is, then that rinse and repeat method we thought we had in place that worked really well on the last project isn't going to work well this project. And I've seen, having been a marketing director in a corporate house, like some of these entry-level groups come in and that frustrates them and they freeze. And to what Beth said, you have to be adaptable. You have to be able to ask questions and be able to find solutions and test and be okay with mistakes and learn from them.
Okay, thanks. April, you're nodding.
And it's kind of hard to comment after following everyone, because I do agree with everything that they're saying. And so one of the special things about Erie Insurance is that we pay for it. So if you see a conference, if you see some training education, if there's more to a technology or a space that Erie is trying to move in and to develop, for instance, and I'm just going to take a little tangent here. I actually held an IT manager position not that long ago within the organization. And what we brought in was Mendex, which is low code development tool. And we have been utilizing that and making great strides with that. And we are actually starting to utilize that from an enterprise perspective throughout the organization. And those are the types of things that I'll hit on when I speak. But that's something that Erie encourages. My second bachelor's, Erie paid for that. So they're always striving to force us to be mindful of change and making sure that we stay up on what's new in the industry. How can we keep up with the Joneses? How can we educate ourselves to better support our customer needs? So I echo what Jeff, Jenny, Beth, everybody's been saying. And so you'll see me nodding a lot because a lot of the things, that Erie looks for. And so the things that we encourage our employees and ourselves, even just we do individual development plans with everybody. So how are you going to grow this year? What are you going to learn? What are you going to bring back to the team and teach us? And so we're very adamant about that. We do have those conversations. Individual development is very important.
Now, that's great to know. Very good.
Mary,
Janet.
Can I add just one thing? Even in government, it's important to be relevant and change. If we don't change and we're always slow in government, but if we don't change at a relatively fast pace, then we're no longer relevant. We're not meeting the needs of the taxpayers, whether they be, in my case, job seekers or employers. So even in government, that is really critical to continually educate, learn, get credentials, and be adaptable and flexible.
Great, thank you. Jeff, I'm going to turn to you with the last question now for you. And this question, you talked to me a lot about the importance of projects and how that shapes your growth and your learning and your excitement and those kinds of things. So can you give an example of a project or two that you've worked on, either at Erie County Technical School or through your own company, French Creek Technology, that's been particularly rewarding to you?
Yeah, so I'll kind of touch on where my career is trajecting at this point. So I'm moving into a database role. And one of the ways that I'm able to do that is in about 2012, I started this process of migrating an enormous database for the school that was the information system for all the student records from a very legacy system into a more enterprise class, more supported, more secure platform. The irony is that just like when I got into the IT industry, I was an electronics technician. In this particular case, in 2012, I was a systems administrator, network professional. I didn't know anything about code and I didn't know anything about database. But as Janet mentioned, in education or in government work, you kind of have to be adaptable and move. And unlike sometimes in the private sector, the resources might be a little thinner. So the opportunity was in front of us and we knew we needed to make a big change, and we could either take a blank slate and start from nothing, or we could try to migrate some data and make the process easier for the faculty to embrace it. And so I took that on, and a lot of it was long nights learning code that I didn't know, long nights absorbing how to be a SQL programmer to write very complex scripts to migrate the code and transpose data. And I'm very proud of the fact that now, 8 years later from when that process began, we have some very analytical reports, and I'm now moving into a database role after some witness of some of the things that I have been doing. And I think that the school as a whole has been able to take on new challenges and focus on more operational needs, because they weren't trying to keep up with the student information anymore because it was working for them. They could focus on doing the next opportunity.
Wow, so you took a project that you really had no idea how to tackle. You figured it out. You created something really important for your organization, and that led you into your next role. That's really an amazing story. So thanks for sharing that.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. Yep. Okay, April, now the show's yours. So thank you for being here. My first question to you is, there are so many different types of careers in the insurance industry that require various levels of education. Can you help people understand what some of those positions are at Erie Insurance and what the necessary education or specialized credentials or general earning potential of those positions are?
Sure, sure. And I'm just going to kind of pick up a little bit where Jeff left off as far we were talking about education. So there are multiple opportunities at Erie that require different levels of education. We have anything varying from an entry-level position. So you're talking about, the mailroom. Everybody needs mail. Everybody has a purpose, and every role within the enterprise is extremely important. Customer service, contact center. We have to be able to service our agents. Being above all in service is our mantra. We want to make sure that we're supportive in whether it's an employee, an agent, or a customer, that we're meeting their needs. We have another entry-level position, first notice of loss. Someone has an accident or someone needs help, the first person they call, we want to make sure that we have that 24-hour service around the clock. So we have different various positions in there. Claims, again, in addition, is an extension of first notice of loss. After you've made your initial report, let's get a little bit more information and dig into what happened and see how we can support you. That's the claims area. You have a policy with us and you want to make a change. You move, you change your number, anything like that, adding folks to the policy, taking them off, that's endorsement processing from that angle. College really isn't required from that perspective, but I want to emphasize again that Erie does encourage education. So even if you take entry-level positions within this role, you actually are eligible after 1 year of employment for Erie to pay for you to go to school. Within that time frame, even within that year, you're still getting that training and education that Erie has to offer. But then after that year, you hit that anniversary date, you can actually go in to get your college education, and Erie will help with the tuition reimbursement for that. Middle level, this is where I came into the organization from graduating from college from that level. We have positions in IT, programmer, analyst, project manager. We even have, after you've been there and you've had that supervisory experience, IT manager, IT supervisor, we have marketing, we have HR, we have sales, we have law, district sales managers that are out in the field supporting the agents to sell the insurance. And those salary ranges, those are usually salary, not hourly. And those ranges can go anywhere between 75 up to six figures, 115. And these are just ranges. These are no commitments. These are just explaining the ranges that you can do. So even if you're thinking about, and I want to make sure I hit this because I don't know if I hit this for the entry level, normally those are hourly, and those ranges for wages could go anywhere from $12 to $20. I know that we pay our customer service and first notice of loss pretty well. It's a very stressful job, and it's something that, when you're talking about having those soft skill sets and people zoning in on that and paying attention and having that human touch, those are the types of positions where you need that special care. So if you're talking about people that are calling that are upset, because we offer life insurance, someone might have just had someone pass on. You have to have those soft skill sets to work within those roles. Another level would be senior leadership level. This is also the college level from that perspective. We have regional sales managers, we have directors, branch managers, vice presidents, senior vice presidents, and they go within the different arms and branches that I was just telling you about, whether it's IT, marketing, HR, you have those levels. And those are salary as well. And those are well into six figures. They're definitely 100 or above from that level. But I want to make sure that anyone who's listening to this podcast or this broadcast understands we have had individuals, some of them I'm really good friends with, that have started out in the mailroom and now they're senior vice presidents, they're VPs. As a matter of fact, I can say I've actually heard our CFO say it. He used to do the landscaping for our company. Greg Gutting used to do the landscaping, and now he's the CFO for Erie Insurance. this should express to you the success stories and the education and investment that Erie Insurance has with its employees and how much we invest to give back to the community as well as our employees and take care of our employees. It is a great company to work for. Fortune 500. Doing a little plug there. Okay, I'll stop talking.
Well, you don't have to stop talking. That just gave me goosebumps. That's amazing. Those are amazing stories. So let's talk about you specifically. You're a continuous improvement manager at Erie Insurance. What does that mean? And how did you become qualified to perform that kind of job?
Well, me personally, that started right at the beginning. So I'm kind of, I don't know if you'll see me, I'm kind of looking over here for my notes, but I'm just kind of rolling with it at this point in time. So my area in particular, we actually just moved into this portfolio. I moved from Treasury just recently, about 6 months ago, over to the billing and payments portfolio in the experience umbrella of the organization. And we're really focusing on billing and payments. So from that perspective, continuous improvement, meaning, okay, right now I get a paper bill. That drives me insane, especially, you know, to being mindful of everything going on with the pandemic. You're going to get the mail, you're touching stuff. What can we do to make sure that we go paperless? So that is a continuous improvement initiative. And I want to make sure everyone, again, listening to this podcast understands that continuous improvement, you're doing it now. When you go from writing out your grocery list or something you need at the store to putting it in your notes in your phone, that's a process improvement. You're not forgetting that paper because you will always have your phone with you. So I want to make sure people understand that continuous improvement is something we do every day. When you find something easier that you're doing, or find something you're doing it the hard way, and you change it up and make it easier for yourself or streamline it or automate it somehow, that's continuous and process improvement. And so continuing to get your education and educate yourself and learn different paths, that's continuous improvement for yourself. So I just want to make sure everyone listening understands that continuous improvement is in all of us and we all do it. So those qualifications and skill set are things that you're gradually doing throughout your life that you don't even realize. Our area in particular, just to kind of bring it back, is really just focusing on billing and payments and how we can better serve the agent, the customer, and the employee around that overall experience. I'm trying to think what else, if there's anything else. From a qualification perspective, I started that in the beginning. I started my career at Erie Insurance as a quality assurance tester. So as IT was rolling out new products and services that the agents or the customer was going to use, I was going to test that. So I wanted to make sure when it rolled out, it was exactly the way it was designed. And then as we got feedback from agents and customers, policyholders, what can we do to improve that again? So then I started that process. So it's gradually prepared myself for this opportunity over the past 18 years.
Gotcha. Okay. So Erie Insurance is our county's largest employer. What's it like to work for such a large company? And what kinds of qualities does Erie Insurance look for? You touched on this a little bit, but more specifically, what do they look for in their employees? And are there things that students can do in high school and even shortly after high school to make them more attractive to the company?
Sure. One of the things I want to make sure and stress, on a good day, depending on how many folks are actually at the home office when we're there, I want to make sure people understand there's about 6,000, maybe a little bit more now, I might have lost count, of folks that we have for Erie Insurance. And then we have folks that are in the field, as well as we have different locations. So we lovingly refer to the home office as a campus now, as we're building. I don't know if some of you guys have actually seen that really big building downtown that we're anxiously awaiting to utilize. We were all just trying to get dibs on who was actually going to sit in that building. Erie Insurance offers a whole wide range of opportunities. Did I think I was going to work for an insurance company? Absolutely not. Because when you think insurance, you think of door-to-door, the traditional mindset. But I'm here to tell you, there is so much more to offer when you're talking about law, marketing, HR, IT, customer service. We do community outreach. We have diversity and inclusion. There are so many different opportunities. It's endless. And I'm not sure who said it, but I know that one of the panels mentioned earlier that there are jobs out there that we don't even know yet, right? And so Erie Insurance is always evolving. And one of the things recently that we started doing was around innovation, right? So what are some of those industry disruptors? And so those are new jobs. We have people just sitting around doing research. What can we do to help us improve? What can we do to make that experience better? So what can students do to help prepare for this opportunity? If you have any exposure to computers, get yourself comfortable, because computers they're here to stay. They're not going anywhere. They might change to cell phones, iPads, and what have you, but technology, IT, electronics are here to stay. So I encourage you to get yourself comfortable with Excel, learn how to do pivot tables, things like that. Get comfortable in there. Presentations are important. Learn how to do PowerPoint. What other features or software products are out there that we can use to help do presentations? Get yourself familiar with Zoom, Teams, right? You have to be agile and be able to pivot. And so those are types of things, and making yourself comfortable with those. I also saw that some folks were mentioning earlier around interns. Definitely, especially when you get into college, if you guys are going to college, if you take that route before you come to us, absolutely seek us out for internships. They're paid. Create a resume. It wasn't until after I graduated from college or right before college, I started panicking. Why wait that long? Impress folks. Come to the meeting or the conversation prepared for that. Start thinking about what you have to offer. And I tell you, it will motivate you to keep going, to add more things. We want to see what some of your outside engagements are too. If you help your local church, the food bank, volunteering at schools, we want to hear about that. We want to know that you will carry the Erie brand. We also want to know, because we do have community outreach services. For example, we adopted Piper Burley School. And so we make sure that we do bag lunches, we help with haircuts, we do fun day, things like that. Get engaged in your community.
That's great. Really great advice. Thank you for that. Jen, do we have any questions in the chat?
Quiet right now, Mary.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I have one more question for all of you then that I'm going to pose to each of you. And here it is. If you could leave students with one last piece of advice about pursuing opportunities in the business, finance, and information technology career pathway, what would it be? Jeff, I'm going to call on you first.
Okay. Can I first piggyback off of April on something she touched on that I thought was pretty awesome? The whole getting involved in the community. Number one, as I'm transitioning to a new role, I can't celebrate enough what happens when you network with people in your community beyond just what you're doing professionally, and how that can help boost and shape where you're going to go. And it's been great for me. And in terms of your question, Mary, ask me your question again.
One last piece of advice about pursuing opportunities in this field.
Love it. You know, whatever it is that you really have in your character, it's kind of already there, and it's just waiting for you to tap into it and see it through and explore it. Explore every angle of it and be willing to press yourself beyond the potential that you can see within yourself, because it's there. It's just waiting for you to tap in it. Never give up.
Great. Thanks. April.
So mine was very similar how I was going to answer that, so that's why I was nodding. So I couldn't say it as eloquent as that, or I didn't choose to say it like that. So I will keep it simple. I agree 100% with what Jess said, but I want to make sure I say it like this, just a little differently. Think about what you love right now, whether it's playing video games, you love fashion, you love to shop. I got a problem. I have a ton of shoes. I love to shop. Those are the types of things that I want you guys to hone in on. So if you love to play games, well, guess what? You can go be a tester. You can go work for Pixar and create cartoons. You can go create video games. You can test video games. You like to shop. I like to shop. You can go to school for marketing. You can go to school to get a business degree. You can be a buyer for JCPenney's. I heard somebody mention that earlier. You want to shop for clothes. They have careers where you actually go buy clothes for companies. You're there actually pick out their styles that they're going to put on the floor. So I don't want you guys to think if you just say, okay, I'm going to go to IT. Well, what does that really mean? And I know that some of the panelists actually dug into that. Think about if you like IT, you like technology, you like electronics. What do you mean by that? What do you like? And just Google it. That's all I'm challenging you guys to do. So the challenge is Google what you like. And I promise you it will lead back to something you enjoy. And if you enjoy it, you will never work. You will always be motivated to do what you love.
Thank you. Thanks. Beth, you're on mute.
I was going to say, find what you love and what you're good at. So I'm going to pivot to, but you also have to be able to demonstrate that you're a hard worker.
Yep. Got it. Thank you. Jenny.
I would say two things. One, echoing everything, but I could package it with get comfortable being uncomfortable. If you get too complacent and it's nothing's changing, then it's time to shake it up. And then leading that is you have to fight fear. Fear will hold you back. And fear, most of the time, especially in developing your career, comes from you just don't know what's on the other side. And so be okay with taking calculated risk, as my mentor likes to tell me, and challenge the fear. If once you do it the first time, it's really hard and painful, and you'll go up a couple steps and you might come back. But then the next time you hit that roadblock or that obstacle or that challenge, you're going to be stronger and more confident to tackle the next fear challenge. So be comfortable get comfortable being uncomfortable, and fight fear, because that's how you'll move forward.
Thank you. Janet.
So mine is similar to what everyone else said, but I think you all heard each and every one of us as panelists started out doing something, and throughout our career we changed. Be flexible. Listen to your mentors, the people around you. I've done accounting was my degree, but I've done finance, I've done international trade consulting, and through that I had the opportunity to travel around the world. I've done marketing and research and government work and ran for state senate. I mean, you just don't know what's inside of you at this point. So listen, pay attention, be willing to explore, and don't give up on you.
Thank you. Okay, well, that wraps us up for tonight. And I can't thank you all enough for participating in this session. This was really, really good. Really grateful for your input. And I want to thank the people who attended as well. And we're looking forward to sharing this with the schools and students after the event. So I'm going to send out a survey. Jen, do you have something you want to say or no? Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I was getting comments from some educators that are also participating that wanted to thank you all because you are echoing what's being said in the classroom and you're reiterating it. So they're very happy about that.
Great. Great. Well, thanks again. And I hope you have a great rest of your night. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Mary.
You.